After a disappointing 2021 season, the LA Guerrillas are one of several CDL teams who are rebuilding their entire roster as we approach the 2022 season. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel where today we're putting ourselves in the shoes of the LA Guerrillas management team, and we're rebuilding their entire roster from the ground up as we approach next year. If you enjoyed the video, as always, let me know by leaving a like down below and leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the video and what you would like to see LAG do as we approach the offseason, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I appreciate all of your support so much, and let's hop right in. So you don't really need me to tell you that the LA Guerrillas had a terrible 2021 season. I think you, of course, already all know that because they were very bad. They were tied for 11th in the league this year, so that is tied for last if you didn't know. They only had 100 CDL points over the entire year. They had an 8-26 match record, which was dead last in the league by a decent margin. Their map record was actually 10th in the league, so there was a little bit of improvement there. If you want to call that improvement, it's still, bottom 3, so it's not great. And then you look at their individual game modes. I mean, hardpoint just absolutely terrible for this team. Really both the respawn modes, 14 and 40 in hardpoint. 10 and 24 in control. They combined 24 and 64 in the respawn modes. They were not a bad search team, but we knew that all season long. They weren't good at it. They were decent at it, but their respawns were just absolutely terrible. And it's crazy to me too because this team finished dead last in the league or tied for last even after placing top 6 at the stage 1 major. So they had that boost in CDL points and still got last in the league because they were absolutely terrible to end the year. So we all know it was bad, but it really doesn't matter that it was bad because as you all know, this team did wipe their entire squad as we approached the offseason. So what happened last year is not relevant to their team moving forward. I was a bit disappointed to see them drop their entire Challengers team because I do think there was some good ones there. I think Nero is one of the top prospects in the entire Challenger scene, and we're going to talk about him here as we move forward in the video. But most of their CDL guys, you saw this coming. I would say I thought there was a small chance Apathy would be back next year, and maybe he still will be, but at least for now he is gone. But yeah, Cheen, Nero, Exceed, Mox, Apathy, Silly, Assault, Mental, they are all gone. It is an entire fresh start for the LA Guerrillas. Like I said, there's a few guys that could have been kept around, but really there's no need to keep anybody around after you are the worst team in the league because obviously that team's not going to cut it. So as you move forward, you have to have a rebuild, and that's what this team's going to do. And now let's take a look at some options they have as they look to build their roster for next year. So in my mind, there are really 2 routes this team could take as we approach the offseason, and I think both of them have their benefits. Both of them could be successful. The first option, option 1, is just to compete. I mean, they have the pockets. That's what you might not know about this team. Their management group has very deep pockets. If they want to spend up and they want to try to get veterans and be competitive, they can do that. They have the money to do it, and there's a stacked free agent pool, as we all know by now. There are so many names that we're going to see here in a minute who are already well-established pros and who are very good pros that can definitely join this team and form a top 6 to 8 team without even adding anybody new or without taking a risk on anybody. There's so many established vets, like I said, in the free agent pool, so if they want to go that route, that's definitely a viable option. Then the other option is just to go for the full rebuild. Look to the future. If you think there's nothing really to be gained from spending a lot of money right now to maybe have a chance at being a top 6 to 8 team, just chalk up the 2022 season. You might not have a good team, but you can get some young guys in there, build them up towards the future, and then you can see that investment pay off dividends as we move to 2023, 2024, and that experience for those young guys really pays off. So there are 2 options. I personally think option 1 is the most likely option, and that's the option we're going to discuss first, and let's hop right into that. We'll start with the ARs, and the good news is if you need an AR this offseason, it's a good offseason to need one because there are a lot of options at the AR position. Starting off with the main ARs, you have Slasher, you have Methods. I think these are the top 2 guys other than Crim 6 and Octane. Crim, I just don't think he'll end up with LIG, and Octane, I think he'll end up with LAT, so there's really no need to even talk about him here. But Slasher and Methods both have their pros. Slasher, of course, a very good player, a very good leader. He's just an all-time great. Methods, he's a very talented player and also a guy who has a lot of a brand. He has a following. He can be a guy that can help build your brand out of the game and still be a key contributor in the game as well. So both of those guys definitely have their benefits. Then the flexes, Gunless, Awakening, Mac. Gunless is a free agent, confirmed. Awakening and Mac, I don't know yet. As of now, they could still be with their teams, but they might be free agents. And if they are, they'll be, highly sought after because Awakening, very good at search, a damage dealer, very versatile player. He can run an SMG or an AR. Mac, also versatile. He's very good at hardpoints. He was respawns. He was one of the best hardpoint players this year. And Gunless, again, versatile, all-time great talent, very smart, good leader. So all of them have things they bring to the table. They're all good options to pair with either Slasher or Methods. And no matter which way you slice it, you can definitely get a very solid AR pair out of this group of guys right here. Same thing with the SMGs, a very talented group of players. It's a good year to need an SMG. It's just a good year to be in the market because there's so many talented players who have become available that we really didn't expect. Starting off with Hook, I mean, we all know his story by now. He started the year strong. He had his personal issues, whatever else. I don't even know if he's available, but if he is, I'd be looking after him because he still has a lot of talent. He can be a key piece to a winning team, and he's also not that old. He's pretty young still, so he can be a key piece both for now and the future. You look at the rest of the guys, and they all have something to bring to the table. Prestini, Vivid, Apathy, they could all be your aggressive guys, your first guys in, breaking the hills, being the first one in, getting the kills, getting traded. All those can play that role very well. I would say Vivid is definitely the best option of the three, but he also will probably be the most highly sought after free agent of the three, so he might not be available. But if he is, he's a guy I would most definitely be trying to get pretty much at any cost necessary. And then Asim, he can just do it all. If you want him to be the first guy in the entry sub, he can do it. If you want him to be the roaming route man, he can do it. He was phenomenal for New York this year. Very valuable in search and destroy. He's a very good leader, a very smart player as well. He does all the things, makes all the right plays. So you can pair him pretty much with anybody, and he's going to be successful. Any team could like him because he just makes roster planning so easy, because whatever role you ask him to do, he'll do. So if I'm a management team, I would definitely try to get Asim. I don't know if he's going to be free from New York, but if he is, I would definitely try to get him whatever it takes, because he's a very valuable player. So if I had to take my picks, I would probably take Slasher, Gunless, Asim, and either Vivid or Hook. But really, like I said, any of these 10 guys combined 2 and 2, 2 SMGs, 2 ARs, you're going to get a decent team. They're going to be fringe top 6, top 8. They can all play together well. They've all been playing the game for a long time. They can sort of put their egos aside, come together with one common goal of winning, and there's a lot of valuable teams you can make with this combination of players. Now, if we like to go the rebuilding route, there are still a lot of talented players in the challenger scene who could definitely fill out this team and be a competent CDL team both now and in the future. Starting with the ARs, Spart was one of the best players in challengers this year. He had a stint in the CDL last year with LIG. It didn't go well, but he was really not running a role that was suited for him. I think he's better suited as a true flex AR, and he can do that role, do it well. He should be back in the CDL. Tom Gravity, one of the best main ARs, actually the best main AR in challengers over the past 2 years. A guy that pretty much a lot of CDL teams can benefit from. Hamza, same thing as Gravity. Very good main AR, very passionate player, a strong leader, very vocal. All of that are the intangibles you want to see from a young guy who's trying to fight for a spot. At the bottom, we have Diamond Khan, of course. We saw him with New York this year. High upside player. He can be a true flex player or a main AR. He can do it all well. He has his ups and downs, so when he's on fire. We saw some huge moments from him. He's a guy I think will definitely be back in the CDL next year. And finally, Casey Pander. Just like Spart, he was in a bad situation in 2020. He was with the Seattle Surge. We all know that team was an absolute dumpster fire, so he didn't really play well, and that was not really his fault. He did rebound, though, in Challengers this year. He had a great year with the Built by Gamers Challengers team. They won a lot, so he's a winning player and also a talented individual player. That's a good combination of traits to have if you want to break into the CDL, because you have to be good individually, but you have to contribute to team wins. Casey Pander most definitely capable of doing that. If I'm looking for a main AR, he's definitely one of the guys at the top of my list. Challengers SMGs, I don't think quite as strong as the ARs, but still a very good group, starting with Pentagram on the top left. I think one of the best overall prospects in Challengers. He was the co-MVP of Challengers this year, according to CDL Intel, along with Spart from the previous screen. He can just do it all with the SMG, good at all the game modes, can use pretty much any weapon, any role you ask him to do. He'll do it well. Pro Loot was with the New York Subliners Academy team early in the offseason. He had a lot of success in Challengers, including winning Challengers champs. Very good at search, a very vocal, very passionate player, kind of like Hamza, so he has those traits where he can win. He's very good at search, a very important game mode, of course, and just a very passionate player. You'll love to see that from a young guy. Nero, a guy who's very quiet. He was on the LG Academy team this year. He really does not make a name for himself in terms of like his marketing. He just goes about his business, and he's a very talented player. He's young. I think he's only 19, so we're going to see him at some point in the CDL. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but in my opinion, he's ready. If teams want him, he can perform. He can step up and perform right now. And Royalty, he's not as much of a prospect as some of these guys. He's been around for a while, but he's not been in the CDL yet. He has been one of, if not the most successful Challengers players in the North America side over the past 2 seasons. I think he's overdue for a CDL spot. He's kind of like a veteran and a prospect mixed all into one, so that's always good because he sort of has the best of both worlds, and he should be in the league. So we might see him in there next year. LIG should definitely take a look at him. And Venom, he played with the LA Thieves this year. He sort of had his ups and downs. Pretty good search player, not a bad respawn player. Sometimes he was one of their best players, sometimes one of their worst players. It just depends which version of him shows up. But when he's on, he's a talented player, and he has some upside as an SMG player in the CDL. One thing I will say, though, is I don't think I would go with 4 Challengers players, 4 guys who are totally unproven when it comes to the CDL. I would go for 3 of them and then try to get some sort of a veteran leader presence around them to help them learn the ropes, help them get them coached up and improve their futures and build up their skills. Starting with Sheen, very good leader. He's been around for a long time. He's just a super passionate guy. He's a very genuine person. He can be a good leader for these guys. He sort of offers a lot of gun skill. He's very good, don't get me wrong, but he has those intangibles too. He can definitely be a leader for these young guys and sort of help get them prepared for life in the CDL and what to expect as a true CDL player. Parasite, though, whatever I said about Sheen, pretty much amplify it, and you have Parasite. I think Sheen might be a better player, but Parasite is definitely the better leader. He's literally like a coach that can also play the game beside the players. We saw it from him in Challengers over the past 2 years. He had so much success despite always having changing rosters, new guys he never played with before, guys who really didn't communicate well, but he always had guys coached up. He knows the game in and out every single year super well. he's a guy who has a lot of value. If he's not a player, he should be a coach, but I think he can still be a player in the CDL. He can definitely coach up these young guys. Now, Goddard X is a guy not quite like Cheen and Parasite in the terms of like being a veteran. He's not been around quite as long, but he's still a very talented player. And this is a game like Modern Warfare. You know, Vanguard is going to be similar to Modern Warfare, and he was phenomenal at that game, especially when it was on LAN. So even if he's not quite the true like coach that I'm talking about, he's a very talented player. He had a great year in Cold War with BBG. I think he should be in the CDL next year. I'm not sure if he will be, but I think he should be, and this would definitely be a good spot for him around some of these young talented players. Now, if you'd rather have your veteran be a sub player, there are options there too. I did not list Jared. He is also an option. I just didn't have his picture in here, but he's good for this role. One I think of though is definitely Zed. I think Zed like epitomizes making the right play, being a smart player, not being a flashy or a superstar player, but being the glue that holds the team together. Like I said, making the right plays, coaching everybody up, always knowing what to do next. Zed is perfect for that. He's just the perfect guy, in my opinion, to be around these young guys and help them learn how to play the game the right way. Sort of like Parasite, if he's not playing, he should be coaching because he is a great Call of Duty mind. He has been for his entire career, and he doesn't get enough credit for being really a very quality player, a guy I'm very high on. Then Saints, I wouldn't classify as a leader the way I would these other guys, but definitely a veteran. He's been around for a very, very long time. You know Saints by now. He's just good at all the game modes. He's a slayer. He's probably best at search, but he's good in the respawns too. He's been doing it forever now. One of the best players in Challengers Cold War, without a doubt. He was in the CDL in 2020. We didn't see him in 2021, but we could see him back there in 2022. I think it would be especially smart because he played with Pro Loot and Spart over the Challenger season this year. So if you want those guys to be comfortable with somebody, get Saints in there to let him be the veteran the team desperately needs. That's going to do it for the video. If you enjoyed, definitely let me know by leaving a like down below, and leave a comment as well with your thoughts on what LAG should do with their offseason this year. And also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I do appreciate all of your support so very much. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a good day today, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.